Has the roller coaster of 2024 left you screaming, crying, maybe confused of what's truly happening in the real estate world? We're going to dive into the latest trends and see how we can improve for the upcoming year. Let's go.
Welcome back to another show, another episode of the International Championship Workshop, ICW. This is Ian Main from sunny Spain and Just Ask Justak, Jason from Indiana in the US. We're going to talk about, so we're coming to the end of 2024. It's coming to a close. And we're going to talk about real estate market trends, touch on a couple of points there, and also touch on strategies to boost agent performance for the upcoming year also. So 2024 has been a crazy year. I think this is a global thing, right? It's not just me here in Spain. I know that a lot of it happens in the US also, and I've been seeing it elsewhere with my agents in other countries. So for example, sales volume and mortgage rates. What's happening over there for you guys? How's the year been? Because usually what I see is what happens there slowly shifts like across the world and then comes to Europe afterwards, not long afterwards. That's why usually we have the same kind of problems, same kind of hurdles to overcome when it comes to the real estate market.
Absolutely, Ian. Man, I'm excited to see you too, man. I know you've been doing a lot of good work, so happy to have these conversations and help more people grow too. So, man, 2024 has been, like we mentioned, that roller coaster. And being boots on the ground, I know you do production, I do production. I think that helps us really see what's going on in the moment.
Yes.
And I think that people really need to understand that as far as realtors, be in that moment, understand what's going on, listen to what your clients are saying. Oh, I'm scared of the election, or I'm scared of mortgage rates or interest rates. Listen to that and work that out with them, figure that out. Because we've seen ups and downs, and something that I've seen through 2024, when we're supposed to be busy, realtors have been slow. And when we're supposed to be slow, we've been busy, right?
Yeah, no, I've been seeing the exact same thing personally with me in my own business. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's been really an interesting year, 2024 has. And it's funny because as we get into a quarter four, a lot of realtors usually pull off and they're like, oh, I hit my numbers. I'm going to relax over the holidays and do my thing. Cool. We're not seeing that this year. We've got so many people still in the game, so many people still selling and buying houses. That's a great thing. That's a win. But I think overall for the year, I think real estate is down 30%. And this is the hardest market. And this is even worse than 2008. So if you were in the 2008 market, this is a worse style market. Inventory, what we're seeing slow increases of inventory, right? And yet those interest rates are high, especially here in the United States. So that combination has really pulled back on the amount of sellers. And then as far as buyers, they're like, only if I have to buy, I'll go buy. Is that similar to what you've kind of gone into in Spain?
So here I agree. Here I am seeing where typically there's things slowing down. I'm seeing consistency and steady work. People buying, people selling. Yes. Inventory, not so much. I have to admit that it's something that me and the majority of the group that I have here in Spain are struggling with that right now. It's one of their, it wasn't so bad at the start of the year. It looked like things were going to pick up, and then it's just kind of dropped a little bit more towards the end of the year now. People are still struggling with inventory, but we got a lot of buyers. There's a lot of people looking to buy at the moment. And yes, the interest rates are also higher than usual here in Spain at the moment. But I don't know, that little cocktail there of the not so much inventory plus a whole load of people looking to buy houses is what I think is keeping things steady at this time of year, when usually, like you said, realtors start to kind of pull back a little bit. And yeah, something I'm really trying to dial in is getting as much work as I can done. Yeah, just ride the wave while things are consistent, while there's a lot of movement in the market, ride the wave as far as I can, just all the way through to next year. So yeah, we are seeing similar things, but slight changes there in inventory, I would say, compared to the US.
Yep. And you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said, "Hey, we've got a lot of buyers, but not that sellers." And that's what it is. Buyers, I think, are just like accumulating. They're getting more and more and more, and they're
Right.
just few sellers. So buyers are just waiting for that right house, and then soon as it comes on the market, they're like, "Oh yeah!" And then we're still facing multiple offers. At least we are here.
Yeah.
And so that's been huge and that was actually our next topic was that inventory
Yes.
shift and what's been going on with it, because what I was going to say too, those realtors right now are really maximizing their capacity.
Yeah.
What can you deal with? And we were just talking about this before we hit the record button, about the capacity. Yeah, you've got all these people looking, and maybe you've got a couple sellers, and you really have to build your pipeline so strong right now. And
100%.
then as an agent, you need to be able to come back to it and remember, hey, I've got 5 potential in January. I've got 5 potential in April. I've got 7 potential in September, whatever, and come back to it all
Yeah.
and regroup. So for a realtor, very crucial to keep watching those trends with the sales volume, just so that way you can plug your people into it, build your capacity, be better. And then as that inventory shifts starts happening,
Yeah.
then re-engage and inform the clients and move forward from there. So Ian, what about you? What are you thinking with inventory shifts? How can that improve either realtors or even the clients?
So one of the struggles that I find that we're having at the moment is it's like the sellers know that there's not much available on the market there, but they also know that there's so many buyers, which is kind of pushing the prices up for us. In all honesty, it's like from one week to the next, the prices are going crazy. In small towns like where I stay, these prices are, they've increased quite a bit since the start of the year. But so that's one of the biggest shifts that I'm seeing now. I feel like the sellers are more willing to put, if they've been on the fence, they're like, now's the moment, because I can see there's a lot of buyers. There's not much there to offer. So I'm gonna take my house on the market, but instead of asking for X amount, I'm going to ask for this a little bit higher because I know the demand is there and whatever else. So that's a struggle that I'm coming across with recently. It's trying to work those sellers, because I can get the listings. I thank God I can get the listings. I have my ways of getting listings, which we'll touch on in a minute. But the struggle comes with them being super stubborn in their pricing and their know-how of the market, which obviously the seller knows better than anyone else because it's their house. But
Well, yeah,
yeah,
and they do like to think that, but that's where, data doesn't lie. If
exactly.
you're able to print stuff out, and I know here in the United States we have the MLS, so a lot of our
Right.
boards we could pull that number. If there's a way that you could do that, and we could dive into that on a sidebar, but data doesn't lie. You put that in front of people and say, listen, how did you come up with that price point?
Right.
And you put them on the spot and you ask them nicely and say, oh, well, this house over here sold for that same amount. Well, great. That also had an extra bedroom. That had a
Right.
pool. It had, XYZ. That's why it sold. And we need to price it accordingly.
Yeah.
Something I've also told my sellers, hey, let's get it on the market for that amount that you're telling me. If we don't get an offer over the first weekend, let's reduce the price.
Right.
Agreed?
Right.
Boom. I'm not saying if we get if we get a offer, it's like, hey, I'm saying when we don't get an offer, we're going to reduce it on Monday or Tuesday.
Right.
So that way everybody wins, and
Yeah.
then you're already setting that tone for the seller. Hey, this is what we're going to do. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
something I was reading on realtor.com, they were projecting that with the inventory shifts, that home prices are going to be up almost 5% at the start of 2025. So that's huge to inform clients. And, and now this is a broad spectrum.
Yes.
So again, it will be different, whether you're in Spain, Indiana, Texas, California, but it's kind of an estimated number as a whole. So if you're talking to people and saying, hey, I want to wait till May or June, well, cool, you're going to have a lot of buyers. 2, you're going to pay a little bit more. So what's 5%? If they're looking at $400 or 400 euros, what does that look like, that 5%? And work the math. And I think that's what we need to do as the professionals. We need to step up and walk our clients through of what's happening with the sales volume, with interest rates, with inventory shifts. We need to walk them through all this stuff so they're aware. And that way you look like a better professional in the long run.
100%. And, it's always about adapting and overcoming, because it is a roller coaster when it comes to real estate. And there are markets that are always going to favor the sellers. And then there's markets that are going to favor the buyers, and markets are going to kind of, make everyone happy. So we kind of need to adapt and work our clients one way or another, depending on how things are, specifically at that moment. So 100%. And that kind of goes into one of the strategies, about boosting agent performance towards the end of 2024 and into the next year. Adapt and overcome. Look at what's working. Look at what's not working. Make the changes you need to make, and move into the future on the right foot. So one of these points being embrace technology and virtual tools. For example, you just spoke about how in the US you have MLS, like you can print off data for showing the seller client, you want to sell your house for 500,000. Well, the guy across the street sold it for 600,000. This is why. This is the difference. Whatever else, it gives you knowledge in your local market. And here in Spain, it's a little bit different, and we do have access to some of these tools and technology, but you need to be open to working with technology. It's something that it's not what everybody's always done. And I think that moving into the future, embracing this kind of technology and all these virtual tools is something that is 100% needed. And if it's not happening now, then it needs to happen. I mean, we're coming into 2025. That sounds insane just to say it. Embrace the tools and technology, AI, CRM automation, virtual tools, making everything more efficient, easier. What's your plan moving into 2025? How are you looking at it?
It's huge. You have to be versatile in real estate as a whole. You have to be agile is a word that we like to use. The technology and great case in point here again in the States, the MLS. In Spain, no MLS, but you have a brokerage out there that is huge on technology and huge on virtual tools. So that is a huge reference point. So if you're watching this and you're with a brokerage that maybe doesn't have the tools or doesn't embrace the technology, you really need to consider things differently, because it is becoming very tech-based. Look at the old saying where Blockbuster Video was around, and then Netflix comes in as this cloud movie app, and now I think the last Blockbuster is actually closing at the end of this year. So it totally puts them out of business because it's accessible for the consumer. And when it's accessible for the consumer, that's going to make things easier for them, and in turn, not need the brick and mortar, not need all that stuff. But that's where that technology has to be embraced. Open your mind, be better, be diligent on that as well. What else, Ian, to boost agent performance? What else you thinking?
So something we also touched on a minute ago was becoming an expert in your market. Also know the numbers, know the data, be able to show this to the sellers, and expand your geographic expertise and targeted marketing. So this is something that I think a lot of people need to look into 2025, me included, obviously. I mean, this is something that I need to implement for myself, especially with me personally. I want to create a kind of shift in my business to increase the quality of my listings, you would say, the price of my listings, because the market where I am is super versatile, and there's so many different types of properties. I can focus on luxury, I can focus on new construction, I can focus on resales, I can focus on like lower end resales, or I can focus on higher end, So targeted marketing for your listings, I think, is a huge thing in 2025. The riches is in the niches, they say. So that's one thing that I think is extremely important looking at the end of 2024 and beyond. And at the end of the day, agents who know their market well, geographic expertise, are the agents that in the end have the authority over their clients, and they're the ones that are going to get the listings when, in my case, for example, it can be difficult getting listings in this kind of market.
Yes, 100%. I mean, and that's how I've transitioned my own business over the last 6 to 8 months, is just being very in this area here in Westfield, Indiana. I want to be everything. So, I'm doing videos to show that, being part of the community, just helping where I can. So it's all those things. If you guys want strategies of what that looks like, let's discuss that. Let's brainstorm things that could work for you. And then come from an area of abundance. Abundance is going to be able to help you grow so much, because if you come from scarcity, it's going to narrow everything down. You're gonna be sad when you don't win a listing. You're gonna be sad when that buyer goes to another realtor. You're gonna be sad when you have a mutual release. So eliminate that and say, you know what, there's more out there. I just have to get more. And that goes back to our original topic, where you're stretching your capacity. If you're stretching your capacity, you have 15, 20, 30 people in the back. Who cares about that one? If it goes astray, let it go.
Yeah.
Learn from it, be better, fail forward, and you go to your other 30 back here, So it's those things that you could definitely improve your game as well.
And that's
so go ahead.
That ties in kind of into the next point. If you're keeping that pipeline full so that it doesn't hurt so much if you do lose a client, but then also preparing you for the next slump in the market, is diversifying your lead sources, which is a huge point for 2024 and coming into 2025. This is something that I talk about quite a lot recently, especially with my agents, and I made them do this exercise. I was in our weekly meet, and I said, pull out a piece of paper and write down every single lead source that you can think of, and I guarantee that you're going to be able to add on like at least another 10 on there. Just think of the ones that you think you know of, show the piece of paper, let's go through them, and I guaranteed someone else is going to have something else, and you're like, that's right, and you're going to add it onto your list as well. And there's going to be like 10 extra ones on there that you could think of. So what can people do? How do we diversify our lead sources?
I'm a big advocate of this as well. There's not one thing that works in real estate. It's a combination of everything, right? So know what you're good at the same time. I'm that big high I personality. If you do a disc profile, you know what that means. So I get a lot of scattered. I've got a messy desk, but I get the work done, and I'm successful at it. So with that, when I originally started, I would do a lot of different lead sources, and I'm doing, 15, 20 different things. Well, I was a jack of all trades, but I was a master of none. So that was the biggest thing. So now, as I've adapted into real estate and really honed in on my business, I challenge everyone watching to really master, 3 to 5 great lead sources, where you're diversifying them and saying, hey, I'm really good at sphere of influence. I'm really good at online leads. I'm really good at videos. I'm really good at whatever else you want to do, open houses, whatever. Get that down to 3 to 5 really good lead gen sources, and then you could become that master. Stay focused and commit yourself to long term, whether it's 12 months, 18 months plus, and be persistent with doing that. Whether it's video, whether it's online leads, if it is sphere of influence, are you having 5 contacts a day? True 5 contacts where you're talking about real estate with people and moving that needle to get your business to the next level. I bet the majority are not moving that needle and having 5 exact conversations a day. If you can, that's 25 a week. That's 100 a month that you're talking to. If you take that 100 a month that you talk to, and let's say you get 10% of that, right? That's 10 closings a month.
Yeah.
Do you have 10 closings a month? I don't.
Right.
You know, so it's those numbers that you really want to look at and say, hey, when I'm super intentional and I know what lead sources I'm good at and I can master, then you could do what you need to do to hit the numbers you want to hit, and you could live the life you want to live. That's what I got, Ian. What about on your side? What do you have?
No, it's very similar. I always I try to focus or have others focus, because for me it was the other way around. So when you first started, it was like a jack of all trades kind of thing. For me, I had like one lead source.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working, and I still had that only one, and I just kept working that one even though it didn't work. And now it's exactly the same. It's between 3 to 5. I always try to have 5 different sources of leads. It's like what is it? They say that the average millionaire has, I think it was like 7 sources of income or something like that, something along those lines. And I try to kind of implement that into my business and have, okay, so I want 5 sources of leads to come into my business to make it a $1 million, €1 million business. That was the kind of thinking behind it. And that's how I shifted from just doing cold calls all day to shifting. And now it's, I do a lot of social media, paid advertising. You got sphere of influence, referrals, FISBOs, and that's 4 right there that I can focus on. And what I've done is this year focus specifically on those 4 or 5. I think I have 5, and it's worked. It really has. Compared to last year, where I only did a couple of things, and although it wasn't working, I still only did those couple of things. This year, I really made a shift. So 2024 has taught me a lot about lead sources, geographic expertise, everything that we've touched on. You know, the technology and tools, especially being here at EXP, it's crazy when it comes to the tools and the technology and everything else. And everything else we've touched on: price trends, the inventory issues that we've had, rates, mortgage rates, buyers, sellers, everything. 2024 has been an absolute crazy year for me. And that last point that we've hit, diversifying lead sources, is probably the one that has changed everything for me this year. This has been one of my better years in real estate since I got going. And that's what we're here for. If it's something that you need help with, if it's something that you feel, I hope that something's clicked at some point and you're like, oh damn, man, maybe I could do some social media advertising for a change, just to diversify a little bit more. You know, it's not here to replace, it's supposed to supplement. You're not replacing one lead source with another. You're adding it on to have more leads and have more business, more deals going through. So that's the idea. We're here to grow. We're here to help others grow. So that's what I got.
Yes, and there's such a learning curve with that, like what you're saying, because you're adding on to it. So then how do you hold yourself accountable? That's when we always talk about putting the right who's around you, to have accountability partners, have a coach, have mentors, have sponsors, have these things in place so that way you could share your own vision and move to the next level. And Ian, what you said too, and we'll wrap this up after this, brother. you mentioned, this year being so good for you, and I'm super proud of you in general. And man, I've seen you just really push yourself and go above and beyond. And you've noticed a lot of stuff. You've been in the moment. You're seeing where you are. You're adapting. You're twisting. You're turning. You're developing. You're increasing your emotional EQ. Right. One of these books, I think you've read this book. Can you see it?
Emotional intelligence. Yeah.
One of the best books, when you're doing what you're doing, Ian, and you're in the moment looking at that stuff, it's fabulous. Then when you read a book like this, it just really gets a different perspective of you and how you're running your business. It really tunes you into you. So if that's a good book that you may need as a viewer out there, check it out. We could discuss that book too. It's phenomenal. And the cool thing about that book is every time you read it, it changes where you are in like the time of your life. If you read it this year, and then you read it another 6 months or 12 months, 18 months from now, it's different. And so it's really cool. So I just wanted to tie those two pieces in because you've done so much in the moment. And I know you're very good at paying attention to how you are on the backside as far as emotional intelligence. So keep to, brother. And I appreciate it. And I applaud your efforts, man. You're rocking it.
No, thank you. And I can love it when a book gets recommended on the show. I really do like my books. I like talking about books, and I'm glad that popped up. But that's what it is. I went through 2-3 years, and when I first started this, when I first started in real estate, were extremely slow for me because I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't taught very well, and I wasn't being shown how to work. So I kind of stumbled through all of that, and then us being here, the objective is to save those 2-3 years of crappiness and dread and unhappiness and having no idea of what's going through, and maybe just kind of reduce it down to 1 year, because it's going to happen probably. But if we're gonna help you skip some of that, that's what we're here for. That's what we do. Mine and Jason's world is just exactly what this is. It's talking about real estate trends. It's talking about personal growth. It's talking about the sales side of things, negotiations, marketing, awesome books, which is one of my favorite topics. And that's what we do. We share it with you guys every week. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Jason, thank you for being here as always.
Yeah, and, thank you. I just like to hear you say books.
Books. You're like, yeah, books. You'll get used to it. It's fine. Hopefully it brings more people back to the show. When I hear me say books, and I'll see you next week.
Hey, thanks, brother. You're an all-star, and thanks everybody for watching too.